Hey everybody, this is Grok.IT. I am Brandon, and this is my co-host.
Spot.
That was very calming.
I'm very romantic tonight.
Oh, tell us a romantic story, Spot.
I don't have any stories, but I do have a candle.
That'll do. Is it scented?
Pig, that'll do, pig. It is scented. Here, hold on a second. I'm gonna light it.
Oh, I'm gonna use Google Scent to,
Nose, you mean?
Yeah, is that what it's
Nose?
called? I thought it was Google Scent.
I think it was Google Knows.
Oh.
Because it was like Google knows that.
Oh, that is... I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, very clever, huh? I think that's working out well for them. Fight Club reference. Go ahead. Now we have a candle. This is officially a romantic evening.
Alright, anyway. Have you played War Thunder at all more?
I have some. I've been working so much that I haven't got to play it much, but it's really beautiful.
I really like it. I haven't played... I've done some of the tutorials, and one of the things I like about it is, with playing the tutorials, they give you, like, the Gold Eagle things. I'm not exactly sure what the currency is called, but the Gold
I think it's
Eagle...
called Gold Eagle things.
Okay, so, yeah, I was spot on then. Gold Eagle
There you go.
things. They give you those for doing... I don't know if they give them to you for doing the missions, too, because I haven't done any missions, but they give them to you for doing the tutorials, which you can then, you know, get stuff with them and whatnot. So it's a nice little bonus for actually doing things in-game besides the multiplayer. But
Absolutely.
I've been doing the multiplayer a lot, and I really like it.
It's fun. Did you understand the bomber tutorial?
Did I do the bomber? I did do the bomber tutorial.
Because for
no.
me, it was just like, and you just do this and this and this, see? And I'm like, and then I hit like 2 of them, and it's like, you did it! And I'm like, but there's like 30 of them left, and it didn't seem to mind.
Well, you start off with really small bombs.
Oh, so size matters.
Yes, size does matter. Like with the reserves that you fly, so how it goes is you get 3 reserve planes, and then those planes you get, you know, repaired for free, and you don't have to worry about it, and yada yada. Anything that's not a reserve plane, you have to purchase, and you have to pay for repairs and all that stuff, but they're better.
Oh yeah, the reserve planes auto repair for free, don't they?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Which
You don't even get that in World of Tanks.
Oh, dang it, World of Tanks. You're letting me down. It would be cool if they could combine War Thunder and World of Tanks.
Oh, they're going to.
I hope they do.
Have you looked at the logo? Look at the War of Thunder logo. There's planes and tanks and ships in it.
I really hope they do, actually.
Well, also, if you look at the design, you'll notice that, well, actually, I'll just say, one of the cool things about War Thunder is that even the arcade games, which are, you know, very more casual-ish, they're not real realistic, but they're more fun. A lot of the stuff is like, there's missions, I guess you would say, where you are supposed to protect ground assets.
Mm-hmm.
Like tanks and convoys and stuff, and supposed to attack the enemies. And it's almost like they're slowly weaving ground forces, like tanks and things, which players could play into the game using AI stuff. And eventually they may open that up. And it seems like they're going to, you know, mesh them. Like, actually, what's interesting about that whole thing is, you know, World of Tanks has beta World of Planes right now, right? But I don't think they're going to make... Yeah, I've played it, and I don't know if the NDA has been lifted, but anyway, I like to play War Thunder. So, but I don't think they're going to mesh them at all. But I think War Thunder's entire goal is to mesh them, based on their logo at least, which will be really cool because, again, based on their logo, that means that in the end you might have people flying planes and people in tanks and trucks and stuff on the ground and people in ships in the water, all in the same game, which would be really badass.
That would be awesome.
Yes, it would. Very awesome. The coolest thing about War Thunder, just in case anyone didn't know, it's free.
Oh,
which
yes.
is really cool. That's really, really neat. So that's a great game. Speaking of not so great games, this whole Electronic Arts thing.
Oh my gosh, I am so tired of the hate on EA. Okay, so Spot and everybody has heard me rant so many times now. I'm just like, people are just joining in and, you know, getting on the bandwagon of hating EA, and I honestly think that is exactly what is happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely gotten old, right?
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things. The thing that I don't. Well, first of all, I'll say, Electronic Arts, right, was named the worst company in America again. Right, that's the whole thing, which is ridiculous in the first place, right? I mean, Bank of America, people.
Last year it beat out BP.
yeah, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous to a point that it almost makes me mad because there's so many more important issues out there with companies that are doing bad things, and this is just ridiculous. That being said, stuff like this always kind of surprises me, right? It's not that people shouldn't be mad, but it's they act like it's unexpected, right? And it's one of those things where in America, a corporation's primary goal is to get their shareholders more value. Right? And so it's like, what do you expect? Obviously, if they can get away with it, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean you shouldn't be upset about it, but don't be surprised about it. And everyone always acts like they're surprised about it. It's like if you're going to go in the water that's shark infested, don't be surprised if you get bit. So yeah. That's about all I have to say on that, really.
I know.
It's sad.
It's dumb. Well, and so, okay, on one of the comments, really, I liked it. They kind of, mentioned how people are getting more upset because, they're putting out DLC for 99 cents, or they didn't like a $60 video game, when more than hundreds of thousands of dollars on a house are going down the drain, and getting foreclosed on. And he said, lesson to EA, if you're gonna screw someone, might as well go for broke and kill some of the local wildlife while you're at it. Like, BP didn't get named worst company, and they had the oil spill. And one of the things that I mean, it really bothers me is, like, EA, has their name on BioWare. Well, BioWare made 2 games that kind of disappointed people. And so, all that hate just went straight to EA. EA didn't make the game. BioWare made the game. If you're mad, yell at BioWare. So,
don't worry.
Steve, you're gonna have to help me with this. The Junkvist. I don't know how to say that last name. Stefan.
I have news for you. I'm not going to be able to help you with that.
All right. Anyway, Avalanche Studios. I am terribly sorry, Steven. Whatever. I
think it's Stefan.
Stefan.
Yeah, that one I'll help you with.
All right.
The other one I'm not touching with.
Avalanche Studios. The guy who, their creative director, has came out and basically said we don't need 40 first-person shooters. Yes, I agree. I am tired of first-person shooters.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he meant specifically first-person shooters.
Well, yeah, but we have so many.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Shooters in general.
Well, it's the most money is in the Twitch shooters. Sadly, I'm probably auto bias on this. Because I'm more of a strategy person. I like first-person shooters. I more like stealth shooters, right?
Yeah.
But I like things that you have to actually think about. I've never been a big, for instance, Quake Arena fan. I've played it, just not really my thing. I don't like the wash, rinse, repeat stuff. So I'm more into natural selection 2 as opposed to Counter-Strike, because at least there's a point and there's structure and you have to do things in a certain way, or it doesn't go well. In Counter-Strike, a lot of the time you can just shoot anything that moves and you're good.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this article is that the majority of this was actually focused, it seemed to me, in my opinion, that there will always be AAA titles, and there will always be. Actually, I think I might be on the wrong article. Hold on. Yeah. He was saying that there's a lot more opportunities to be creative now, and Avalanche, just to remind everyone, they're the ones that did the Just Cause titles. And what's interesting about them is both of those titles were AAA and quite well received, especially Just Cause 2.
Oh, I love Just Cause 2.
Yeah, it's an amazing game, yeah. I still have a game I'm not done with that I've been working on like 35 hours. Love those sandbox games. But they also released Renegade Ops, which was an online-only title. By online only, I mean it wasn't out on the shelf or anything.
Yeah.
It was a smaller title, more top-down. And it was interesting because I remember when it came out, they were talking about how they had these extra resources, of personnel and stuff, and they wanted to do a smaller project to type of, flex their muscles in an area they hadn't really had a lot of experience with. And so they did that, and it worked out really well for them. There's more and more artistic and game mechanic stretching envelope, pressing ideas that are being pitched in the industry, and that's really good. I mean, stuff like, I don't know if you've played Journey on the PS3.
I have not.
But it is an absolutely amazing experience. Like one of those things where you play it and you get touched in a way that sounds dirty, but emotionally, it's one of those things
Yeah.
where you. I remember actually tearing up multiple times in that game just from the sheer beauty of it, and the score and the visuals and everything just interweaves so
Yeah.
much so well that it's just amazing. And it's one of those things where when pitched, like I can imagine being pitched on that game and thinking, really, I don't think that'll sell. And
It
and it
took
wasn't like
off.
a mass. Well, yeah, but it took off because it won so many awards, right? In the
Hmm.
beginning, I don't think it actually took off that fast. But then, you kept reading all these things about it. In fact, I actually bought it after I read like four things in a row in the same morning, and I was like, "What?" And so I had to actually walk over and turn on my PlayStation 3 and buy it.
Hmm.
And it was an amazing experience. And it's only like an hour and a half long. But I'm actually looking forward to playing through it again because awesome. But yeah, seeing studios like that, which I think that's the other guys, or oh no, it's that game company. They're the ones that did Journey. Those types of games, the ones that are really not your normal AAA shooter.
Yeah.
They're awesome, and they're really pushing our perception of what is fun. Because a lot of these things are really enjoyable and they're really fun. But if you were just told about them and you didn't get to experience them, you would never believe it in most cases. You'd be like, oh, right, yeah, I'm going to go play Counter-Strike or Call
Well,
of
it's like
Duty.
Minecraft. Like, you get told, well, what do you do in Minecraft? Well, you can place blocks and then pick up blocks and then place
Yeah,
them other places, and that's
actually,
what you do.
it's funny. It's funny you bring that up because I was trying to get my girlfriend into Minecraft. She's really into it now, and I was trying to get her into it. And she was like, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be one of those fad things that it's a big deal and then it just goes away. And I'm like, okay, and I didn't press her. And then she got totally addicted, right? And actually, she decided to play after we watched the Minecraft documentary, which if anyone hasn't seen is really great. But yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. They're the types of games that a lot of times you have to literally experience them to understand.
Yeah.
You can't just be told. It's like The Matrix.
One thing I don't like though is I've seen I forget what film it was, but it's on Netflix.
That's descriptive.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, so just look it up. It's the one movie that it follows some indie developers around and stuff in their game. And there's this one indie developer who really, I mean, he made me mad. Like, it was one of those things where they had their nose up in the air so much. Like, I'm an indie developer. I don't, work for a big company. I still make it. It's like, shut up. Like, one of the things is, yeah, you may not make AAA titles, but, you're still not. You're just making a game. Like, it'd be nice. I love video games all in all, whether they're indie or not, but I honestly can't stand the indie crowd, I guess. Just
Yeah,
because of how
I
pretentious they can be.
I think you're talking about Indie Game, the movie.
Yes, that
Um,
yes, that is it.
and I believe you're talking about Phil Fish, who created Fez.
Yeah, oh, I hated that
Yeah,
guy.
I'll tell you what it is. Tell you what it is.
He was so whiny.
It's the whole thing where you meet those people and they're like, I'm gonna piss off people with this. They're like, I am an artist.
Oh
In
god.
that whole, you don't need to understand what I'm doing. It's all about my expression and blah 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 blah. And that's fine, right? That's actually something we need to talk about at some point because there is a big difference between doing something because you know it'll be successful and doing something just to do it,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In fact, I believe Notch was asked one time what makes an indie developer, and he said, if I recall correctly, I hope I don't misquote, an indie developer is someone that does it just to make the game. They're not worried about making money at all, and that's fine. But you can't look down your nose at anyone else who is doing it because they want to make games and make money. Because if you make money, you can make more games.
Yeah.
So
Nobody is sitting out, in any of the game companies like, I honestly, I hate this. I'm only doing it because I get a fat paycheck. Nobody enjoys, the fact that if their game doesn't do well, they can get fired.
right,
Nobody, like, that is horrible job security.
absolutely.
And if you get your name on this big failure of a game, that sticks with you.
Actually, I'll tell you, failures and having your name attached to them are a serious problem, and that's why I've been known as a person that when I'm working on a project, I kind of hover over it and won't let anyone see for a while, because if you let someone see something too soon, they get the wrong idea and they can't understand that it's not done yet, even if you tell them. A
Yeah.
lot like the Oya review thing that's been happening.
Yeah.
That was an awesome segue.
That
Anyway, it was. Anyway, yeah, I found this entire thing, and we talked about the Oya last show, and we both think that it's not going to be that successful. But
Yeah.
stuff like this makes me sad for these people, because they sent out versions of the product to Kickstarters,
Yeah.
right? Which is what you want to do. That's what they paid for, right? You want to reward them, and they started getting reviewed when they weren't actually ready to be reviewed. This is actually when people complain about that they get in an MMO beta or something, and there's these highly restrictive, some people refer to as Orwellian non-disclosures.
Yeah.
It's this reason exactly, because they don't want anything being published before it's ready to be published, because people will pick it apart with a fine-tooth comb, and it's not ready. And the whole thing is, nothing is good until you're ready. And part of the points of putting out a good product is knowing when it's okay to put it out, right? So if somebody tries to review it before you put it out there, then you're going to have this problem. And another issue I have, and I don't want to just go on and on about this, but this is kind of a passionate thing for me, is that your normal consumer, they will read something like this, and unless they happen to stumble upon other information that says, well, actually that wasn't ready and blah, blah, and it's actually not bad, they will leave and have this particular view, and then later on when somebody brings it up, they'll be like, oh, I heard that was really bad and blah, blah, and they'll just go on to something else. So whoever posts these types of reviews, knowing that they're not ready, could actually hurt this company very bad, because you never know how far something will spread.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things, though, is I think they were hoping to send it out and get reviews. I think they wanted reviews. I think they wanted people to kind of be like, oh, this is so cool, I love it, and everything. I think that's what they were hoping for. But they kind of realized that, hey, some people in the game industry also happen to get some, and they were being honest and not just going with all of the hype. And they're like, well, these aren't review ones. I think if they had gotten great reviews, they would not have even mentioned how those weren't in the review boxes.
Well, they wouldn't have need to.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing, though, is if you send something out, you have to be prepared for it being reviewed. And so, saying, well, this isn't part of the preview period, well, that's too bad you sent it out. Don't promise something and
I'm gonna have to go up against you on this, because well, I disagree. Obviously, we don't know what they were doing or not doing. However, if I back a Kickstarter, right, and I back it enough that I want to get first access, I'm going to be pissed off if I get access at the same time the media does, because the media didn't kickstart the project. I did.
Well, I can understand that.
Well, right. So it's one of those things where, and also it depends on the pledge. When I pledged, it may be that I got access to the first, what they would consider viable, stable product. And so they send it out to me, and they're like, this is a review product. It may change, completely, etc. But then that's it. It's one of those things where you can say you shouldn't have sent it out at all. But then you have to keep going. You have to say, so you should have never actually had that pledge level. And if you couldn't have got a Kickstarter with that, you shouldn't have done a Kickstarter. And and if you couldn't have got the money to do the project in the first place without a Kickstarter, you shouldn't have done the project. And so you kind of got to follow it back. It's not just something you can just throw out there. Now, you may be right. It may be a deal where, yeah, they were getting ready to pack. They had them packed up, and they were going to send them out to media places to be reviewed, and then the reviews started coming in bad, and they're like, oh, we're going to use this. Might have been, I don't know, but I think to automatically assume that is unfair in my personal.
The article says that they said we will be making review of units available early to mid-May. That's really close to make any actual big changes.
Well, if it's software changes.
Well, software is one thing, but I believe they also had hardware changes in there too, I believe.
Really?
Let me see where I
how many units do they send out? Because if they have hardware changes, that means they would have to replace all the units they sent
Yeah.
out to Kickstarters. When I read it, I got the impression it was primarily software changes. I mean, a lot of it being the way the software was interacting with the hardware, but actually replacing the hardware wasn't actually that viable. Because if you remember, a lot of the complaints were specifically about the UI and everything like that.
Yeah. It said, blog post on the company's website said it's working on external storage solutions. So whether that means that they have a USB plug and it's not working as they want it to, or they just don't have anything worked out for external storage. I mean, things like that. I mean, it
could be a driver's issue. You know, just because you put a USB on something doesn't mean that the operating system knows how to use it. So, you know, they're so anyway.
Yes. Anyway. So I don't know. It's, you know, they weren't exactly ready to be reviewed, but at the same time, if you send something out, it's going to get reviewed.
Good. You just reinforced my entire justification for not showing anything I work on until it's
I have never complained about that. So, speaking of consoles, Microsoft just sold off Media Room to Ericsson so they can focus on the new Xbox 720 Durango, whatever you want to call it. Focus on that being the central hub of your TV entertainment, which I remember back in the way years ago. Thanks. They mentioned how they wanted the Xbox to be the hub. They wanted you to be able to watch shows. So I mean, this was, you know, all part of the plan from the beginning. Was to have the Xbox be the hub, and it's interesting to see it finally start really taking bloom with that. Just because, I mean, I like the idea. I like the idea of having, you know, one thing control everything. It seems much easier. Plus, then I can just say Xbox pause, and I can feel awesome, like I'm connected to the Matrix.
You know, actually, I'll say one thing that I need to credit.
Yeah.
Total Biscuit said about the always-on Connect on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Which I agree with, because what I thought about when I heard it. It's like, I don't know if I want a device 3D scanning me in the room I'm in the whole time I'm there. It's kind of creepy, to be honest. Anyway.
I can see that. I can...
Oh, so can they. That's the point.
Well, I mean, if they really want to see me naked watching, like, the new Transformers movie, then, you know what? They can see that all they want. I am sorry for whoever watches that.
I don't think anyone wants to see that.
You know what?
I don't even want to see myself naked watching the new Transformers movie.
Oh, I got up this morning to take a shower, and I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry to anybody who has to see me.
I say the same thing about myself. Yes.
Pity hour.
Yeah, exactly. On this, yeah, I'm not surprised by this at all. I mean, obviously, Microsoft's been pushing for the Xbox to be the media center for a long time, as you pointed out. I do have a problem with it, but at the same time, it doesn't surprise me, right? I have the problem with it for the same reason I have a problem with Apple for what they do. You know, Microsoft, which is a lot like Apple, surprise, surprise, in that they try to wall up their ecosystem, right? And the more stuff they can control, the more way they can tell you how to use it. And again, it's not surprising at all, but I don't think it's good for consumers. It's not good for, if I could be a little bit melodramatic, civilization. And so, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's for me, I will stick with my boxy box for the time being. You know, I can access files on my machine. I can access Netflix. I can access, pretty much everything you can access. And I think my parents use a Roku, box.
Yeah.
They would use a boxy box, but it doesn't support Hulu.
Oh.
Which I believe is probably more due to Hulu. So yeah, it's one of those things. Also, I think Microsoft wants to control more of the content. I mean,
I can see that
at the content source, because there's issues with the broadband in the U.S. Due to a lot that has to do with content, right? So, for instance, right now Google is having trouble with Google Fiber because they're trying to get sports content, right? But the sports content is actually controlled and owned by Time Warner.
Yeah.
which is a competitor to Google Fiber, and they're wanting them to pay exorbitant prices for that content. So they're actually using their control over dual markets, to shut out new competitors. Now, I don't think Google is really one to be trifled with on that,
No.
but I think that that's the type of thing that's pushing Google, for example, to start looking into more original content with things like YouTube and things like that. And so I think Microsoft's doing some of the same thing. They want to control the content more, and it may be that at some point they're going to start pushing to actually content creation, because the less middlemen they have in the process, the better for them. But again, it gives them more control, and obviously, as we already talked about, a corporation's responsibility is not to you, the consumer; it's to their shareholders. Mm-hmm. So they're going to screw you over in any way they can, and that's what they're supposed to do, quote unquote. They never say that, but that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and one thing I read is that what Google seems to do is they say, well, people aren't really going ahead in this market, so we're going to force the companies to, compete with us. And then they get what they want.
Yeah.
And so, this is the whole Google Fiber thing is just them saying, hey, we're moving into your territory, and it's cheaper, and it's better, and we still make money off of it, so what are you going to do? And it's going to force, everybody to be like, fine, we'll upgrade.
Yeah, except thus far, Google seems to do that, but and a lot of other companies do that. Microsoft does that, and Apple does that and stuff. The difference is, thus far, okay, I'm not at all claiming Google is not evil at its core somewhere, but thus far, Google, when they move into a market, they don't lock it down.
Mm-hmm.
They actually compete and usually succeed in the market by doing it better than anyone else, if that makes sense. Apple and Microsoft and others, they lock it down. So that nobody can have access to it, and you as a consumer are trapped because you've bought this hardware, and they won't let you do anything else other than what they say with this hardware. That's why Microsoft has fought so hard to keep, modding of the Xbox down, because they don't want you using it for anything else, because they don't have control over that. So it's it's one of those things. It's really sad, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Speaking of sad, Gamer was accused of faking a disability and got, I guess, a bunch of donations from people. He pretended
thousands of dollars, actually.
I think it was around $20,000 he got.
Wow.
And you see him in the video come in on a wheelchair and like talk to people and everything like that. And it was on Twitch TV. I guess he got pretty famous. And then he gets up and forgets that he's still streaming, and gets up, and you can hear his girlfriend on the stream just go, "Oh my god," and try and kind of keep, say, hey, people just saw that and everything like that. And both of their Twitch TV accounts got closed down, and a bunch of other stuff happened. People are calling for him to get sued because he tricks people into thinking that he was disabled and allowed viewers to donate money.
You know what, I don't think, as far as moral discretion here, obviously it's pathetic.
Horrible.
It's not just pathetic, it's one of those things where it's obviously as you said, she was freaked out because everyone could see, so she was in on it as well.
Yeah.
And it's just what really annoys me about stuff like this is not the people that got ripped off as much as the people who actually have these problems. Mm-hmm. People who are actually handicapped, are actually disabled, and they have these issues, and they would really benefit from people, being kind on the pocketbook side with them, and things like this cause people to doubt and hesitate and things like that. It could be, a wide-reaching thing, and it's just ridiculous. What I find interesting, though, is that technically what he did, and I'm not an attorney, I'm going to make that clear, but I do know that what he did is fraud in the United States, which is against the law, literally. It's not just like, that should be against the law. No, it's illegal. So I think that every single, and I would recommend, as in my own personal opinion, again, I'm not an attorney, that every person who ever gave him a cent should file a lawsuit.
Oh, definitely.
That's what I would do. And I seriously hope it's not a class action lawsuit, because it's much better to make them deal with every lawsuit individually. Ah, yes.
People are ridiculous. Well, and it's like, he he goes in to say, like, hey, donate so I can keep streaming all the time and everything like that. It's like, what, what, I want to know what compelled him to think, man, this will be a good idea. Like,
Well,
where did that come in to think that, like, hey, let's scam people.
Well, I mean, I think that people like this are in the same category as people that like use children for profit in
Yeah.
whatever way, right? It's there's a point where there are certain things where people can be actually bad people and they can be jerks and selfish and greedy, but still they don't get below a certain level where there's a certain level of humanity that's just
Mhm.
almost a base, you know. I think it's the same reason why someone who molests a child can get sent to prison, and murderers and rapists will kill them in prison because of it,
Yeah.
right? It's like these are people that murder and rape people, but the fact that this person did
It
it
was
to
a
a
child.
child, yeah, is like there's a certain base humanity thing, and I think that people like this, they're automatically below that because they're so selfish and they're so greedy. They don't think about, or maybe they do and they just don't care about how it impacts the people who actually have these problems, and uh, and they just don't care, and that's it. And
Yeah.
they're probably in a like f everyone else type mode,
I'll
and it's really
definitely.
sad. And I think that they should be punished to the full extent of the law.
I hope he does. Honestly, I hope he goes to jail, because it's disgusting that he did that.
Oh man, I mean, it makes me sad because I'm sitting here in my wheelchair and I need money, and I just wait. No, I'm just joking.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
I don't know how much more time we have, but I found it interesting that Ubisoft recently acquired the rest of the, I think 70%
Mhm.
um, of the Anno Games developer, which is really interesting in my personal opinion. Um, Related Designs, actually, they're German.
Yeah.
German build things, build things, build things really well. Uh,
I'm gonna not make a comment right there.
well, they do build things really well. Yeah. So, but what's interesting is that they did not actually acquire the rest of the interest in them, which gives them full control, obviously, because they had 30% before.
Mhm.
They did not actually invest in them because of the Anno series, which is actually a really cool series of games, and they're very in depth. If you haven't heard of them and you like things like Civilization, actually, if you like things like Sim City, right?
Yeah.
But that's a lot more micromanaging, like actually managing, resource flow
Mhm.
and manufacturing and things. How's this? If you like SimCity and you like Minecraft Feed the Beast, you'd probably like the Anno games a lot. It's a very difficult game. I found it very difficult to play, but I love watching other people play it. I'm kind of a voyeur when it comes to games, mainly because I work too much. Anyway, they bought them because they are the developer which has done the browser-based MMO, Might and Magic Heroes Online, which is really interesting. And Ubisoft's wanting to move further into the free-to-play model, which is really really interesting. And obviously they're interested in investing in the browser, which I
Yeah.
personally like. I'm a browser tech enthusiast. So they're wanting them to work with Blue Byte, which Ubisoft also owns, which is working on the Settlers franchise, and there's actually a Settlers browser game as well. So very interesting, and it's interesting that publishers are not only moving more into the free to play, because EA is moving into free to play, has been for quite a bit,
Mhm.
and Activision is as well, but they're taking existing franchises and bringing them to the free to play model and in the browser. And actually, you'll notice that a lot of the stuff that has been moved into the browser as kind of like dipping their toe in the water are strategy games, because they work well in the browser, right? Right now, things like first person shooters, high action, very low
Very
latency stuff.
difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult at the moment. We're getting there, but it's very difficult. Yeah, so strategy stuff is really good. So yeah, Might and Magic Heroes Online, very strategy. Settlers, very strategy, right? And there's actually EA has the Ultima
Yeah.
browser game, very, very strategy again. And they also have a Command and Conquer game, which I don't think is actually very good in my personal opinion, but that's strategy. So strategy lends itself to the browser platform a lot right now, and it's just going to get better. So it's really cool to see publishers moving in this area, and because I like free is good.
Free
Yeah.
is fun.
Yeah. Now, if someone would just make a really like micromanaging game based in space and stuff like that, you and I should do something like that.
Oh, okay. Let's
Yeah,
draw up some plans for this.
yeah, we should do that. So that's all I've got. I'm pretty much
Yeah,
I'm
well,
out of topics to talk about.
I don't really follow Ubisoft all that much and that stuff. All I know is they made then they make like the Assassin's Creed stuff.
Oh yeah, I like Ubisoft. They've made a lot of stuff.
Well, yeah, I don't really follow them all that much, but since they're wanting to get into the whole free to play or free game thing, their Uplay got hacked.
Did it really?
Hackers made a tool to make it so you can access Uplay and get their entire catalog for free.
Like the entire game catalog?
Yep.
Where can I get this tool? Oh wait, I'm sorry.
So Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon everybody thought it was an April Fool's joke. Well, it turned out to be real. It's scheduled to come out May 1st. Well, now it's already up on BitTorrent and all that kind of stuff because it was on the servers.
Interesting. Well, that's I'm sure some people got fired over that.
Well, the thing is, Uplay is now down. They shut down Uplay. Well, if I don't know exactly how their DRM works, but if they have to be online games, I mean, I don't know if people can still play because with Uplay being down because people can hack through it.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure they'll get it back up as soon as possible. That's quite interesting.
Yeah. So
we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for them. Usually I'm just kind of like, oh, whatever. Yeah, piracy can be bad, but it's not that. But for them their whole library,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like, as far as piracy is concerned, it's not like probably every game they've ever released is on a torrent somewhere already. So it's like So. I think more probably as you said, the Far Cry 3 leak is probably far more important to them than the older stuff.
Yeah.
That's but yeah, wow. Well, I'm sure they'll get that fixed. That's pretty wild. And stuff like that is very very much falls into the whatever doesn't kill us makes us stronger category.
Whatever doesn't kill us makes them put larger restrictions on video games.
Yeah, maybe. Like the Witcher 2 guys. Witcher 3. CD Projekt Red, they're not doing any DLC at all. They've said specifically no DLC for Witcher 3 at all. They said it doesn't work. Duh.
The thing is, this is what bothers me. It's like, we're right in the middle of this big story, or not this story, but this big thing of, with, SimCity and, being always online and stuff, and people are saying, should always online be a thing? Well, when you have a massive, hacking thing like this to get free games, that's only going to be more incentive.
Sure.
And so don't complain when it happens, when you then just go out and get everything for free anyway. Don't complain.
Yeah, I still agree that, and I know that you hate him, but I still agree that, what Gabe Newell said, that piracy is primarily a service problem. And the deal is, and I think Steam has really shown a lot of that, because Steam helped piracy a lot because they made it really easy to get games, if you pay for them. And I think that DRM is the anti of that. DRM makes it difficult to play games you've actually paid for. It's it's kind of like the Oatmeal. I don't know if you read the Oatmeal, but he posted a thing like a month ago about how his experience with trying to watch Game of Thrones, HBO's Game of Thrones, and it's funny because he goes through this whole thing of where he's trying to buy it and he's trying to buy it online and he's trying to buy it online, and finally he can't get online and he's thinking, well, I could just torrent it, and there's a bad angel and a good angel and blah blah blah, on his shoulders and blah blah, and finally he can't give them his money without going out somewhere and buying it at a store, right?
Yeah.
And so he torrents it. That right there, I'm not saying that's okay, but I'm saying that is a service issue. So
yeah, I mean, there definitely is well, there's this, but then there's the, hey, we hacked, there's piracy, and then there's hacking a software so you can get the entire database.
This is a completely different deal. Yeah. This can't even hardly be compared. So yeah, I agree with you completely. It's so yeah, but anyway, yeah.
One little last final thing. It's Yuri's Night on April 12th. So
what is that?
It is the 52nd anniversary of when we first put a man in space. It's pretty awesome. So people around the globe have space parties and celebrate,
And by we, you mean who?
the ultimate country in the world, Russia.
You mean the Soviet Union. You mean the communists. You know, that entire thing, I think, was a hoax.
You know what? Moon landing was a hoax. So yeah, Yuri's night. You know, let us know what you did to celebrate if you did celebrate.
And when is this again?
It's April 12th. Today.
Oh,
I
it's
guess.
today.
Well, we're.
Oh yes,
I don't know
yes,
what
it's
time it is
today.
for you.
It's today. You should be actually listening because we're recording this seconds before you're actually listening to it.
Yes. In fact, right when I stop recording, it goes live on the internet. We are that good.
Yeah, it's being virtually streamed.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes.
We are pros. This is why we have such a big audience. Anyway.
We have massive audience.
Subscribe. That'd be great. Send
Please.
us an email. I'll put the email down below in the description. So
Post a comment too.
Yeah, post comments. That'd be great. We love feedback. We like to have our ego stroked because that way I can tell all the ladies that I meet online how awesome I am.
How many I'm not even gonna ask. So
no,
awesome.
I want you to finish that.
No. I'm not. No, I think that we should leave that exactly where it is. So yeah, I guess I'll see you next week.
Yes, thank you for listening.
I'll bring my candle.
Sexy.